Welcome to your new favorite show on the NGBN.TV network. This is Decades. My name is Chris Rubio. I'll be the host of this fantastic episode tonight. We've got Memepalooza Part 2. Before we even get into talking about our panel and a little bit more about our show, let me bring out our co-host. He does everything, but we're not sure exactly what he does. Give it up for Sub 60, Ed McAndrew. Ed, what's going on, my man?
Rubio, my brother, how you doing, man? Good to be back in the studio getting our show done.
I'm very excited to see you again. I'll get back into that in just a quick second, but let's introduce our panel because I want them to chime in a little bit. For representing our, we'll go oldest to youngest. Representing the 60s, we have Jay Gaskell. He's an Idaho native, a recently retired judge, outdoorsman, and wine connoisseur, and can make one of the best old fashions this side of Clarkson, Washington. Give it up for Judge Gaskell.
Aloha, Rubio. Ed.
Aloha. Representing our 50s, we've got two of them tonight. Bill Geiser will not be with us tonight. He's off vacationing somewhere. The first one is Jim Gingrich. Representing our 50s, he's an Idaho native, cybersecurity consultant, enjoys outdoors and lots of guns. Give it up for James Gingrich.
Hello to all my fans.
Next 50s, we've got a newcomer, someone who's been commenting on the show, really asked if he could come on and be part of it. So we said, hell yeah. So for representing the 50s again, give it up for Alex Chris. He's originally from the Ukraine, grew up in the USSR. He's a software developer from Los Angeles who likes gadgets and soccer. What's up, Alex Chris?
I also like guns.
You also like guns? Okay, we'll get on that too. Representing our 40s, Jimmy Mack is not here, but he's showing up. He's dropping off his daughter right now, so he could pop in at any point. For those who don't know, Jimmy Mack's representing our 40s, Los Angeles, California, born and raised, UCLA grad, and a fine educator. Representing our 30s, Joe Nolan. Resides in Philadelphia, entrepreneur spirit, works in real estate and small business finance, a tech startup, community involvement, and loves to run 5Ks at night in the ghetto. Give it up for Joe Nolan.
What's going on, jabronis? Happy to bring some intelligence back here.
And representing our 20s, a very handsome young man. Give it up for Cruz Rubio. He's a college student athlete, likes arguing, tacos, hanging out at the beach with chanclas on, and passing out after hard workouts at football. What's up, Cruz?
Howdy.
As if for all the big fans out there, you know, we missed last week. We were supposed to have a kind of a recap episode, but Sub 60 Ed was faking being busy in Vegas. He had a conference of some sort, and I just happened to be out there as well. And I said, I need to make this happen. Ed, can you show him the first picture?
Oh,
so this is what the legends are made of.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a good one. See where his hand is, his other hand. Now, this is one of the most frightening photos I've ever taken, because as I'm walking into the hotel that he's at, I'm starting to think, okay, if Ed's anything like me, or I was thinking actually, James, what you would do, he's going to walk around and he's going to sniper either my Achilles or my knee. He's coming at me pretty hard. Then I notice he's got his little walking stick or whatever going on. And then I start to realize, okay, I can outrun him at some point. But now, Ed, can you show him the second picture? Okay, now he's trying to hit me right here, right? Everyone.
No, I am putting
100%.
my arm around. I am putting my arm around you, like, hey, buddy, how are you doing?
No,
good stuff.
100% not. All right,
that's what it's
back to reality. We are back. We are excited to go. We've got Memepalooza 2. This is where every panel member sent in a meme of their choice to talk about. Ed, please show us our first one. All right, I think this one's pretty obvious. The big brick up top, the Durham report, I think that's the big one that I wanted to make sure that everyone saw right out of the gate. We talked about that through our group text message. That's what we wanted to kind of hit. Judge, what do you think about that? I mean, does someone on your side even think that, okay, this president's being kind of coddled by the mainstream media, considering he's taken 45% of his time in Delaware? He hasn't had a live press conference in, I literally don't even know how long, and he doesn't answer questions.
What's your question?
Do you think he's being coddled by the mainstream media, or was that your Joey B impression?
First of all, I'd like to say on that second photo, I think your head was photoshopped in. It looked entirely fake. Moving on from there, I guess it goes back to what we talk about every time. There's left media, right media. There's very little central media. People see what they want to see. I guess you could claim that he's being sheltered by the mainstream media, if you'd like, but he's certainly being lambasted by the right-wing media. So I don't see that as being anything new or different.
But do you feel like he's being coddled? You personally is what I'm asking.
No, I don't think so. I just don't think he's. I just don't think he draws the headlines like DeSantis or Trump do, because he doesn't do outrageous things like they do.
Or okay, Cruz, what is your thought on this?
I have to agree with Judge a little bit in the sense that there is left-wing media and there's right-wing media, but I would say that as much, I mean, that Joe Biden does get coddled by the left-wing media, but the same thing can go for Republican candidates. I mean, in a lot of these Fox News reports, Ron DeSantis can do no wrong at times. They've kind of backed off of Trump a little bit, but in that sense, I would say he is being coddled, but you have to look at both sides here too.
Joe Nolan, you're squirming around. What's your thoughts?
I mean, the left-wing media that I look at sometimes is way more critical of Biden than any right-wing media or centrist media. And I think it's really like the neoliberal media might be trying to shill for him or cover up or protect their interest, when in reality, most of the world doesn't agree with, a lot of his policies. It's just, the other side looks crazier and crazier by the day when you try to look at like the real problems of the world. And then, once again, we're brought back to something like the Durham Report, which is just another political hit piece about something that everyone wishes we could move past, like the Trump days. Super. Like, it just feels like a deeply unserious effort by both sides to just overly politicize issues when there's real things that we could be attacking.
I would agree with you 1,000%, Joe. But what about the person that says, yes, let's move on it, we want to move past it, but you guys just focused on it for 6 years? I mean, you can turn up any news and it was Russia, 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 Russia. Even El Trumpo even said it one time. He goes, "Oh my God, is this really Russia, Russia, Russia?"
Did
again?
anything happen in Russia since? Maybe there was some fire behind that smoke.
What? I mean, there was literally a 332-page report about nothing. They even said, Jim, what's your thoughts on this?
I definitely think he gets coddled a bit because, look, they called 500 witnesses, 13 foreign governments. They found no collusion. What they did find is that Hillary's campaign probably used illegal finance from her campaign to pay for private investigators to throw all this bullshit out there. And they actually have a part in that report where they said they didn't want to investigate that part because she was likely going to be the president. So they were out with that. So I think Biden gets a pass. We know there's a laptop. We know that there's all these transactions they're questioning with Trump. They investigated all this, found nothing. And now we're going, why are we still talking about it? Well, we are, because the report that investigated the investigators showed there was nothing.
Yeah, and wasted time. Alex, Chris, and then we're going to show the meme one time for Jimmy Mack. Welcome, Jimmy Mack. Alex, Chris, what's your thoughts?
Well, I think, actually he's being coddled, and if he's not being coddled, I mean, basically they don't like to report anything bad on him. Okay, that's my opinion.
What was the second part? I couldn't hear through your accent.
They don't like to report anything bad about Joe Biden. They basically, sweep stuff, basically, under the rug. I mean, it's not like only CNN and MSNBC, but even like local news, like, CBS and ABC, all those big guys, they still don't do it.
Yeah. Jimmy Mack, did you see the meme yet?
Not yet.
It's basically showing green agenda scam, whistleblowers, inflation, FBI cover-up, Durham report, border crisis, energy crisis, Hunter laptop, and how the mainstream media has just basically got an umbrella over Joey. Oh, I didn't even notice he's got a little sippy cup too. Bless his heart.
It's Gingrich. This has to be Gingrich.
No, wait, we're not even voting on it. Like, what's your thoughts on it? Is he being coddled?
I don't know. It all depends on what news source you watch, if he's being coddled or not. So I don't know.
Okay.
What were those sacks of money that said 10% on there? I was trying to figure that one out.
Jim, you want to take this one?
Well, it went to the big guy off the shell companies that came out of Ukraine and Russia and China and other places.
That's all off of Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I mean, the big thing that I just noticed is that I remember there was one press conference where El Trumpo had a glass and he drank it with two hands. And then there was another one where he was going down a ramp and and kind of slipped a little bit, and the news went crazy, like 25th Amendment, you got to pull him, blah, blah, blah. Joey B's fallen up and down stairs like 5 times. At one point, he was hugging the Easter Bunny, and the Easter Bunny had to tell him where to go. I mean, and I've spoken to other people where it's just like, yeah, he's too old. Well, yeah, that's kind of the point. Like, we've got problems here. Judge, you're smirking. You're close to his age. What do you think?
I think the older you get, the smarter you get, and I think that's evident from this group.
Judge, you might as well be a genius at this point, Ed.
I know, right?
Ed, let's go to meme number 2. Live so that if your life was a book, Florida would ban it. All right, Judge, go ahead. This is yours. Go ahead.
How do you know it's mine?
I know it's yours because I had to get it for you because you don't know how to pull up a meme.
I tried to etch it on my stone tablet. Anyway, the Republicans used to be the party that said no government interference, let's keep out of people's lives. Now they only do that on the topics they want. They're in all this book banning with DeSantis in Florida. And at the same time, he bans books and puts a 16-week abortion ban, 6-week abortion ban in. He does away with all of the concealed weapons restrictions. There's no background check required anymore, no safety required, training required anymore. It's just like they pick and choose where they want to be involved in your life. And I just don't think that's what the Republican Party was or should be. I think they're becoming more like, if you will, not to the degree perhaps, but more like Gestapo and brown shirts where they burned books. That's how it all started there.
Okay, and before we move on, Judge, it's DeSantis, not DeSantos.
It's DeSanctimonious, according to you-know-who.
El Trumpo? Jim Gingrich, what's your thoughts on what the judge posted?
I agree with some, but however, the only books I know they banned were showing 11, 12-year-olds engaging in homosexual acts, doing oral sex, all kinds of things that we were never taught. You understood basic biology. You were taught, your basic sexual functions at some point later, junior high. So if you read through any of that was banned and written into legislation, it was indoctrination. It was all about trans and gay people, and they kept saying it wasn't, but the books were out there. I did some research, and they're just trying to protect children. There's no need to publish that stuff, and it's not banning a book if you're protecting a child from things they're not ready to see. That's our job.
Okay, Judge, you're shaking your head. What facts do you have to come back at him with?
Well, the facts I have is that it's not just those books. It's like 40 to 41% were LGBTQ themes. 40% of the banned books, which incidentally are 2,100 last year, or attempts to ban them, were characters of color. 21% were based on race or racism. 22% were based on sexual content. In one, they had Rosa Parks. It showed a picture of Rosa Parks. It said she had to move her seat in the bus because of the color of her skin. They removed because of the color of her skin in the edited version. That's ridiculous. That's not sexual identity or teaching our children about LGBTQ. It's another law that they passed said that they don't want you to instruct children on anything that may make your race look bad and make you feel bad about what people in your race have done in the past.
I agree with that.
Okay, Jimmy Mack, you're the darkest on the panel. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it's Florida, so nothing surprises me about Florida. Anything they would do. We're teaching the kids about the sexual preferences. There could be a better way to do it. I mean, I don't think they were passing out porno magazines like Gingrich said, like they were showing sexual acts. I don't think a book company would do that. But if they did, that still shouldn't be put in there. But when it came to like talking about things like when they were talking about critical race theory stuff, I mean, it was all over the place. When you ask people, why would you ban a book talking about critical race theory? They had no idea what they were talking about or what they wanted to have banned. There's a saying that goes, a lot of the people that want these type of books banned, that they don't want to see their grandparents and aunties and uncles doing these terrible racist things and pictures in these books, or having to explain to the younger generation, hey, why was it like that? So I think it was a lot of things, and not, as Judge said, to not make your race feel bad, but it's still American history. And I mean, we teach about the Civil War. That's a terrible thing. Americans killing Americans. So if we can teach about that We should be able to teach about the horrors of what slavery was, about what race relations was. It's the only way that we're going to get past that. And as far as when it comes to the sexual preferences of people, I mean, it's a slippery slope, but I mean, it's out there right now. You got people, trans people in sports now competing as, females, but we'll get to that another time. But it's something that needs to be talked about, though.
Alex, Chris, you're kind of biting your lip up there. What's your thoughts?
Well, I think, some books probably should have been banned and some shouldn't have been banned, but it's actually, in my opinion, it has to be up to parents, what books are allowed for their kids to be read or not, not school or some bureaucrat should decide, what your kid's supposed to read, okay, or not.
I would agree with you, but when I think the book Jim is talking about is called Gender Queer. And if you ever want to go on the line and go on Twitter and type in gender queer illustrations, you'll be a little bit surprised about what's going on with that book. And that book was available to not only high school, but middle school and elementary school. Joe Nolan, you're just kind of squirming around a little bit. What's your thoughts?
Well, first, I can't believe we're talking about Florida and not Chicago and how terrible it is to live there. I mean, sorry, I just felt like we were missing something with that building.
Well, did you see the O'Hare airport this morning? There was a full-on brawl in the O'Hare airport.
That's pretty funny. But honestly, some of the books that have been banned, I mean, it's The Bluest Eyes by Toni Morrison, Beloved by Toni Morrison, Looking for Alaska by John Green, To Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. I mean, it's it's scary. It's just the end of a really fascist session of legislation that's come out of Florida, between saying even adults are going to need to get permission from multiple state boards before transitioning in Florida, to actively attacking the biggest employer in the state because they exercise their First Amendment right to criticize the government or to host a safe space for LGBTQ plus individuals, allowing books to get banned. I mean, 6-week abortion ban. The GOP has gone a long way from, the small government when it's overreaching into every aspect of people's lives. And if you can live a life that is going to challenge that status quo and you get banned because of it, good for you. It's a life well lived.
On the To Kill a Mockingbird, that book was, there was a lot of the books the judge was mentioning, they were put on a hold for literally 6 days and just to review them. And then they were not banned at all. So everyone throws out the To Kill a Mockingbird, I think Charlotte's Web, and they were not banned. They were literally, hold on, let's look at them real quick. And then you're free to go. James, you had your hand up, then I'm going to go to Cruz, and then we'll go to commercial. Ed.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I maybe the judge could send me that, because I'm against banning books. It's about freedom. What I had read and watched was the content that is being taught to children. And to me, we do have a right to focus on that. We do have a right to decide collectively what they see. But if there's other stuff going on, I'm 100% on the judge's side that they can't be banning books for adults.
Cruz?
Yeah, same things as Gingrich. Just can't go about banning any and all books. But I think when it comes to children and kids like that, I think there definitely needs to be some, not necessarily pushback in a sense, but a little bit of pushback where we kind of have to take a second and think about, do we really want, kids that don't even know much about anything to really be shoved in their face like this? I mean, obviously Kill a Mockingbird, great book, super educational. Every kid should learn that. But and everything else, I mean, even when it comes to critical race theory, in a sense, there's some parts of it that are important and, some parts that maybe could be left out, but at the end of the day, you can't really go about banning everything just because it doesn't appeal to your ideology.
Solid take. Ed, take us to commercial where we can think for 30 seconds about how Cruz never really read To Kill a Mockingbird.
Yes, I did.
Hello, my name's Ian Hill. And when I'm not training to be the oldest man to play NCAA Division I college football, I'm the CEO of NGBN TV. Our mission's pretty simple. Educate, equip, entertain, support, and inspire men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. It's a one-stop shop for all that a man in his middle ages needs to be his best. So once you come and join us, come and be a part of NGBN TV. Now back to our show.
Welcome back to Decades, your new favorite show on the NGBN.TV network. Shout out to Ian Hill, who actually picked up his first offer today from Antelope Valley College. Well done, Ian. Ed, give us our next meme, please. Cruz, you're the athlete of the group right now. Well, Jimmy Mack and I obviously are surpassed you tenfold, but Judge, yes, you and Ed can do the limbo. Okay. So, Cruz, what's your thoughts on the transgender athlete issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult because at the end of the day, someone that's born a male and transitions into a female and then wants to play in those sports is going to have is going to have an athletic advantage in general. I don't know. It's just difficult because you can't really hurt anyone's feelings in this sense. But at the end of the day, anyone's feelings are going to get hurt if you allow the player in there. But if you don't, then at the same time, so you have to kind of tiptoe around the whole subject in general. But I think overall, it's not safe for women's sports to allow it.
Okay, Jimmy Mack, what's your thoughts? Is Joe okay? Is he drowning? What's Joe doing?
He's in a parallel universe.
Go ahead, Jimmy Mack.
Well, first of all, Joe, love the hat. But it's a terrible thing that they started. It's a bad precedent. I mean, it was an athlete in Connecticut. He was a black male. He was terrible at track and field. Now he's a national champion because he transitioned to being a woman, or he identifies as being a girl. Or with wrestling, I mean, I'm not a great wrestler, but I think in my prime as a physical athlete, or in my 20s, I could take on some of the best women wrestlers in the world because I would just overpower them. I would be strong. I mean, I was a pretty strong, small guy. So, I mean, I think that's unfair. I mean, Chris Rock said it, or no, Dave Chappelle said it best. What if LeBron James decided to go to the WNBA? He decided to be a girl. He averaged 800 points a game. Like, why would we even put somebody in that predicament or in that situation, especially in physical sports like wrestling or MMA or something like that? I mean, a woman can get killed. I mean, if men are killing each other in the ring, just imagine what a big, strong man would do to a female boxer. He probably would kill her in the ring if he hits her the wrong way. So I think it's I understand that we want to give people equality, but that's not equality. You're hamstringing the competition. I mean, that could be a girl who needed that third place to get a scholarship and don't get it because, they got this. I mean, what would stop a track coach from just getting all the transgender athletes in college and saying, I'm going to win the NCAA track and field because I'm going to have all these transgender women on my team and they just dominate the sport? That would be ridiculous. So,
and then what happens is you're going to end up taking female scholarships. I mean, the whole Title IX thing was brought about, and then now you get us. What is there? 7 of us right here. Okay, we're all going to go out for, I don't know, just female wrestling, or and then just dominate it. Judge, is the only answer to this creating a third category of like transgender league? Because you don't. The issue is you don't ever see females going to male sports.
Right. I don't think it's necessary to do a third league for transgenders. I think if people want to transition, they should be able to transition. But I think if you're going to do that, then you're going to leave sports behind, competitive sports behind. It's just not right that you should be able to transition, compete in some sport that requires greater strength, greater physical abilities. I mean, if you want to be a long snapper, that's one thing. But if you want to be an athlete, it's something completely different.
God. Damn you. Alex, Chris, stop laughing so much. What's your thoughts?
Well, I agree with, actually, I did hear I interviewed with the swimmer. She was from one college in Kentucky, and she said basically that men have 17% higher lung capacity compared to women. And then, of course, if somebody says, hey, I'm a woman now, or I identify as a woman, and I want to compete with girls, he would always win, because he can just do it better, than women and then girls, so that's unfair, I think.
We're almost in a full agreement. Joe, I'm assuming you're going to throw a monkey wrench in here. Yeah. What's your thought?
I mean, I think whenever a minority gets an outsized amount of attention, especially in an edge case like a transgender athlete where there's less than 100 of them across the country, and random people know their names and are thinking about them, that's usually a sign of just an overreaction or a moral panic. I think generally it's more important to have people feel like they're welcome and included and able to compete in whichever league they feel most comfortable with. I think some people are going to be upset. I mean, there's still some people that are upset that there's black people in like Major League Baseball. Like, just at the end of the day, it's more important to have inclusion and have people feel welcomed in sports, because it's really more about community and competition than it is about a political football.
Okay, but why would someone have to feel more comfortable with their feelings than, say, my feelings? Like, why
should anyone care about your feelings?
More comfortable coming to my team as a dude. You're playing as a female wrestler. But as long as you're comfortable, you're great. But my daughter, who's about to get her ass handed
growing
to
up,
her,
there was guys that would
years.
wrestle women almost every meet just because of how like the teams lined up. Like, it would be based off weight class, and it could still happen. And sometimes guys would just give up because like it was a lose-lose. Like, hey, best case scenario, I beat up a girl, So it was always weird when that happened, but it was because there was no girls wrestling team and some women wanted to wrestle.
I know, but you're not answering my question. My thought is, why should I have to worry about your feelings over my feelings or my daughter's feelings? So, like,
I think that my right to participate in sports more important than your right to be uncomfortable with my participation.
Well, nobody's saying you can't participate, though. They're saying participate in your biological gender.
But in this specific example, right, like that is a woman that is taking testosterone that would want to compete against the men, but you're saying that they can't.
No. I'm saying what you're saying, that scenario is the same amount of times that I'm parting my hair in the morning. Never. Okay. I'm saying the opposite, where a dude goes and he becomes a female swimmer. I mean, Jimmy Mack, you just posted on this on Facebook. Was it track? You posted something like that?
Yeah.
And I think you were AC. Yeah. You imagine your daughter's been training for 17 years, and then you get to the state championship, and all of a sudden Jimmy Mack comes out in a wig, and he's running. He's 6 foot. What were you in high school? 110 pounds, but faster than hell. I mean, that's not a fair match.
Yeah, I mean, it would be. It's unfair. I mean, because never will you have a woman who goes transitions in. I don't care how much testosterone she's taking. That's going to be a side effect to that. Just like there's a side effect to estrogen. When they have the men who go to jail, when they have to take the estrogen and they got to get that medicine to remain there as they're transitioning, they can get sick if they don't take it. Their body can get really, really sick. You can really, it's a lot of side effects to that, to trying to become biologically something that you wasn't meant to be. Because there's a lot of surgery, there's a lot of stuff that goes with it, a lot of pain. So, I mean, I wouldn't want my daughter competing against a male in a sport, just like I wouldn't want my son competing against a female in a sport, because my son is a huge kid. I would not want that. I would feel bad for the young lady because he's big and strong. So when we have to think about, yes, we want you to feel comfortable in your own skin, there's still a whole society out there of people where there's money being made on this stuff. There's money being made. So where the money goes, if you put this transgender athlete in there and they're killing the money, it's going to become a problem because people aren't going to want to vote or put their money down on that person. So it's just going to really kill it all. So let's stop acting like athletics is pure. It's a money-driven sport. And if you put people in there that are not it's going to be the flip side for the males. You put them in female sports, they're just going to kill it. They're going to kill it. And there's going to be a lot of bad. It's a slippery slope. I'll just say that. It'll be a very slippery.
You've been patient.
My take. Move on to the next meme. I'm with Caitlyn Jenner. You got to protect the women. Inclusion could happen in other ways. You can't do this to women's sports. It is going to ruin it. And Jimmy Mack made a good point. It's about money and scholarships and a lot of things, and it's just going to fucking destroy it. So I'm opposed to it.
All right, let's take us to our next commercial over the next 30 seconds. Let's think about how big Jimmy Mack's wife must be, because if your son is that big, because you're teeny tiny, Jimmy Mack. Welcome back to your new favorite show on the NGBN.TV network, Decades, where we've got someone in their 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and 20s. We're having conversations about things that you normally wouldn't talk about. Jimmy Mack, how tall is your wife?
5'8".
Oh, she's tall. And your son's bigger than you?
He's 5'10" now. I'm 5'11". So he's 12. So he's.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, he's catching me.
Okay, yeah, you're done. You've got about another hour and a half before he's bigger than you. And I'm assuming he weighs more than you?
No, I got him. I'm almost 200 pounds now, Rubio.
Oh, good for you. Bless your heart. I remember third grade. Go ahead. Go ahead, Ed. Next meme. What the hell's that? Oh.
Oh my God. Kill it with fire.
Oh,
I'm going to go. Alex, Chris, you comment on that. I'm not even sure what's happening there.
oh man.
Well, a lot of people have an impression that Putin is a big, strong man, okay? And some people just make fun of him and thinking that he's not as strong as he wants everybody to believe, okay? He's basically like a girly man, okay? As Schwarzenegger used to say.
Okay. Joe Nolan, do you have a comment on this one?
Hell yeah. That girly man is like, he's never looked weaker. Like today, the Ukraine, Russian Legion invaded Russia directly in the Belgorod region. Just 100 people were able to take over like more territory in Russia than Russia's been able to take over in the last 4 months down in the Bakhmut front. It's been like incredible to watch just the bravery and like the Ukraine people defending themselves and showing just like what a weak like puppet state Russia's become, and how unserious they are on the world stage.
Number one, I
great shirtless on a horse.
Yeah, number one, I almost thought that was Martha Stewart. Number two, it's not hard to be brave when you're being funded by Big Daddy US nonstop. Jimmy Mac, did you have your finger up?
No, I did not.
Okay, then I'll go to Jim. I'll go to Jim then.
To me, so I don't understand any of that. I think we can put a missile right through someone's face from 40,000 feet in the air. So I'm not sure how any of these things are still occurring. If we want to help Ukraine win the war, then there's ways to do that, and we're not doing it. So it seems like there's a game afoot.
So you're just thinking this is all for show?
Yeah, I mean, there's some bigger agenda, because we could end this. Anybody could end this. The technology's there. We act like it isn't, but it is.
Cruz?
Yeah, I don't even know. I'm still distraught from that photo. I don't even know what to say. Yeah, I mean, the whole Ukraine and Russia thing I think it's started off as one thing and like big patriotism and all this and all that, and then it's kind of developed into an elongated political scheme, in my opinion. But I'm not really too big on the whole thing. I think both sides, I mean, are what they are. They're going to dislike each other. It's war. It happens. I mean, but yeah, what Gingrich is saying, I mean, it could be ended in a snap of the fingers. I mean, you could turn Russia into an Amazon warehouse in a minute if you really needed to. Like, what people just, I mean, it's clear that they don't want the war to end, so they're not gonna end it whenever they feel like it.
Judge, did you like that photo? It kind of looked like you with a wig, to be honest with you, now that I look at it.
Very, very attractive person. Yes. I disagree that we could end it immediately. I think if you do certain things, you're going to invite nuclear retaliation, and that's what everyone's trying to avoid. But you can't let one country just start invading other countries. I mean, that's exactly, if you don't study history, you're doomed to repeat it, as they say. That's exactly what Germany did to start the Second World War. They were reclaiming, quote, German territory that had been taken from them after the First World War. And then they just kept going, and they kept going to the Netherlands, and they kept going into France, and they kept going into all the different countries. And you just can't let that happen. So I don't think it's made up at all. I think the countries, the NATO countries, are doing exactly the right thing and supplying not the lives of their people, but munitions and supplies to stop that aggression. I think it's entirely appropriate.
Ed, we're going to wrap up part one right now. We're going to come back with part two. Go ahead and send us a commercial.